Alright, I want to do one real quick. If you kind of really listen to a lot of my material, I have a reoccurring theme. So I just wanted to kind of reiterate it. I have a recurring theme. Most of my work that I would like to be put across as of love, as my perspective on things, as embodiment and understanding, spiritual growth through love, caring, and understanding. But what happens when that fails? Some of the things I say, I have a real hard time sometimes with certain things because I'm very street knowledgeable. Okay, folks, you can probably tell by some of my stuff that some of the ways that I talk. If you really met me, you would know that I'm not wealthy by any means. Although, I've hung around with many different classes, many different kinds of people. But what happens when love fails, man? What happens when judgment fails? What happens when decisions fail? This is something that needs to be kind of addressed. Because even though the concept of love, understanding, and passion, and patience, and all of these things combined, they will fail us. Because we are mere humans. Okay? I'm not going to turn this into a spiritual or religious, viewpoint of understanding. Just a humanistic and realistic one. We're humans. Everybody's humans. That's why, in the pompous of it all, it's important to learn to forgive, to accept, to be aware, to be conscientious, to have understanding. But the problem is pain versus understanding. Hate versus understanding. You get to a certain point to where your logic is overcome with emotions sometimes. And that's what makes the understanding not feasible to swallow, to where you get to a point to where you don't want to. So when that occurs, you cut that off. And the understanding goes out, the care goes out as well. Okay? It's important. I said I've self-said this. One of the very greatest things about me is that I'm patient. Very patient with people. But it's also one of my most dangerous qualities as well. And I don't say that as any point other than what it said. Just on the hindsight of that, I don't react or act upon reflex. Usually when people do this, there's a backlash. Usually this backlash is, even if it's just an eternal one of regret. Sometimes there's more. And sometimes everything all that needs to be taken from a situation is some absence to reflect upon and really assess. Sometimes that gets difficult because of all the distractions of other factors, such as emotions, murmuring from the crowds. But it's very important. And sometimes I might sound like a hypocrite, and it's probably because I, just as everyone else is, can be a hypocrite. But I still try to maintain more of a balance of thought towards love, understanding, and care. And because I mess up sometimes, and I will mess up sometimes, I don't expect to be ridiculed or pointed in my face. I just know it'll happen. Okay? because that's just the way that things work. And that's the pill that has to be swallowed, is, humbly looking at a situation and saying, yes, I did err. You grow from that. You have to have some form of acceptance. You have to have some form of accountability. You can't say that it's not anything that I've ever done wrong, or I've never done anything wrong, it's always been somebody else's fault, because there's no acceptance, there's no accountability, there's no growth in that. Okay? These are simple, simple lessons. And yet, people always have... one of the greatest things I can ever tell anybody is to have some kids, man. It's really a bizarre thing, because you get to see the worst of human nature firsthand. And that's not a joke. And I'm not trying to say that all children are bad or anything like that. But I will say that you get to see emotion and emotional reflexes and stuff like that firsthand and raw, uncut, from a humanistic standpoint. And it's funny because you take the time with children to shape and guide it. But when it comes to people, we really don't, because we feel like, hey, you know what? They don't care. They're not going to change. Number two, it's not your job to teach somebody how to deal with that. Or number three, it's just something you don't want to deal with. But the thing about it is that we're all here on this planet to try to take care of one another and idealistically come up with betterment through love and caring and understanding. And when we do fall, look for people that's going to try to lift you up. And if somebody else falls around you, try to lift them up. And if you have some words of kindness, try to lift them up. And if you have words of hate, separate yourself from the situation and try to put a new perspective on what you're doing. And I mean, I agree that in certain circumstances, no gain would be achieved by attempting to contact or reach somebody. Sometimes people just aren't there, or sometimes the hate is too great. And in that instance, if you don't have the abilities to make a situation better, it's better to just not make it worse or confuse the situation. Just step aside and possibly let the universe run its will through another person. I mean, we could talk about fate and destiny one day. They're not the same, but they are the same. So maybe that'll be the next topic that I'm going to hit up on, is fate and destiny. But I just wanted to give a little quick one right here. I got a couple of ideas for some new material that I'd like to put out. Not so much on the news standpoint, but just more philosophical. I just try to put something out, thoughts in my own mind. Sometimes I'll just rattle around in my head. I feel like I got to get it out. And this is, for me, a healthy outlet. So, and this is mainly about acceptance and accountability and forgiveness and understanding a situation. But I think the next one, I'm going to have to try to get into fate and destiny. So let's talk about these two things on our next, I'm just going to call it session, man. It's almost like therapy for me, though, for real. Love you guys, man. And see you next time.